made aware there's dog bigots. Like, there's one side like pittie mamas, and these people are in denial breeds are real. They're in denial breed instincts are real. They think breeds are an analogy to human groups when there's no such analogy. Breeds are something humans created very recently through selective breeding. In terms of animals, the best analogy to people would be wolves, in the sense they were created through spontaneous evolution, not a guiding hand. They're family packs that are able to thrive all over the world by slightly adapting their physiology. But wolf is wolf. Like, the differences between wolves are like entirely based on climate and food, but there's no major differences between wolves. So you got yourself a wolf, you got yourself a wolf, you got Arctic wolf, timber wolf, red wolf. Red wolves are somewhat mixed with coyotes because they survive where game is smaller. The main differences are size, color, but they're wolf be wolf, right? So if you want to make an animal analogy to people, it's wolves. Dogs are nowhere near an analogy to humankind because of the fact we created them in the past 200 years through carefully controlling every pup allowed to breed. So it's acting like people's beliefs about dog breeds are similar to people's beliefs about races. No, if you want to make an analogy to racism, would be some nut job who's like timber wolves are inferior to red wolves. That would be like racism, where it's like they just wolves, bro. Like, what is wrong with you? There's no major differences other than size, which is an adaptation to game, and coat thickness and color, which is also an adaptation to the environment. Like, what are you talking about? Dog breeds you cannot compare to people. They literally have instincts different from other dog lineages, and even in context the breed, like husky, for example. Like, huskies bred in America for pets look nothing like working line huskies. So even though they're huskies, like the huskies we have here in the West are bred for their beauty, not their instinct to pull sleds or their capacity to do it or hardiness. So it's really an eye opener if you look at a working line of a dog breed and then you look at a show line or a common pet puppy mill line. So different. Chihuahua. When you think of a Chihuahua, you think of a 4-pound dog with a round face and the tongue hanging out, a giant bossing skull and little legs, looks like a potato. That's something America created very recently, as in the past 2 decades. Mexican Chihuahuas are larger. They are more commonly a deer phenotype with long legs, a long snoot, long pointy ears. They look closer to ancient Mexican dogs. Not the same, but dogs like I can't pronounce it. The Zol, like the hairless Mexican dog. They look like that, but smaller. And yeah, even that, something like that, like the Chihuahua. Like Americans became enamored with these small dogs in Mexico, which will probably survive because there's no pastures in Mexico, so the people are shorter, the dogs are smaller. You know, like you can correlate height of humankind with how much free open pasture is near protein. So human height averages. And you see the same thing in wolves. Like the biggest wolves have the most access to large game and open pastures. Red wolves, which cluster in the south, along with the humans there and the dogs there, are tiny. And they're more coyote DNA, red wolves. And they cluster more in the south where there's less open pastures for them to hunt elk and such things. Anyway, so we became enamored with this small dog in Mexico. And then we bred it into this unrecognizable caricature where we not only took the original small Chihuahua, then we made it like have dwarfism with a chronic bossing head, open fontanelle, little tiny stubby legs. None of this is natural to the Chihuahua. So I'm trying to say is you could see a Chihuahua in Mexico and a Chihuahua in New Jersey. Completely different breeding lineages, but a common ancestor maybe 50 years ago, right? Dog breeds are not analogies to people. If you want to make it an animal analogy to people, it should be wolves, in the sense like us. They difference on habitus and color. So wolves that are in areas of the world where there's more big game tend to be the biggest wolves, the tallest wolves, wolves that are where there's no open pastures, like the red wolf. All animals there tend to be shorter and smaller. I mean, providing they're carnivorous and would otherwise eat large game, including the humans there tend to be shorter on average. As probably an adaptation to less protein, you know, how well genes do that promote growth and height and such things are a function of your food sources. So if you're eating more carbohydrates and less protein, there's no need for genes that'll make you really fucking tall. It's probably a bad fit. It's probably going to reduce your lifespan and stuff. And then you see the same trend with wolves. Like, wolves where they have loads of big game are huge. And wolves that don't, like the red wolf, are small, a little bit bigger than a coyote. And mixed with coyotes. Anyways, yeah, so you got the one extreme, the pittie momma type, where it's like, there's no dog breed. This is just like racism. I have empathy for the pit bull, which you should. It's sad, the story of American pit bulls. There's no difference between a pit bull and a poodle. And it's like, well, that's a leap. In instinct, no difference, just how you treat them. It's all bias. And then you have the other side, which I've recently learned about, pit bull racists. Like, these people go beyond sane balance, where it's like, dog breeds are not an analogy to human bigotry. Would you stop? They go beyond that to almost savoring in dog xenophobia, like unrealistic and crazy resentment of dog breeds. Real weird. Like, and you see them doing shit like, I have a working line, a show line West German Shepherd, pure as can be. And like, they're weirdly proud of their purebred dogs that overlap with known racists in the past. Like, the German Shepherd was the official dog of Nazi Germany. And you just get this vibe, like, this symbolizes, like, in the way that the liberal pittie mama is using dogs to symbolize human bigotry and fight it. This person's doing the opposite and using dog breeds to symbolize their huge interest in xenophobia and racism. And the sane people like me in the middle, where it's like, dog breeds are real, but there's a lot to consider. Social factors are huge. The dog's early. It's known a dog, their birth to 8 weeks is like their formative template. That would be like the equivalent of a human adolescence, like childhood to teen years. And if that's bad, and not socialized, they're gonna have a problem. There's a lot. There's breed instinct because they're literally like family lines inbred for certain behavioral inclinations, but there's also other shit, you know. Honestly, with the pit bull breed, they were bred to be animal aggressive. So even the stereotype of pit bulls being human aggressive is really not in their breed instinct, you know. I'm not saying pit bull human aggression doesn't happen, but it's more likely to be related to trauma. Their breed instinct is to be animal aggressive. So you can expect a terrier to want to chase a small animal, even to kill a small animal, but not people. They weren't bred for that. The bull and terrier breeds were bred for animals. The terrier line of animals are hunting dogs that were killers. Yorkshire Terrier, a ratter, things like this. Not people. The Mastiff breeds were meant to be guard dogs, guardians, not the terriers. And what you have with the Pit Bull Terrier is a Mastiff lineage and a Terrier lineage. But what I'm trying to say is, when making the Pit Bull Terrier, they were selecting more for animal aggression, for bull baiting and dog fighting, not people aggression. So when you see a super person aggressive Pit Bull Terrier, that's likely from bad breeding or trauma and poor socialization, not the breed, right? But there's lots of stories of pit bulls running after a small dog on a walk and killing them. That's more likely their breed instinct, not pit bulls running after people and killing them. Anyway, like we're dog racists. Like, I'll never touch a dirty pit bull. My show line West German Shepherd is pure as the snow. And I'm just looking like, you ever seen a show line West German Shepherd? They have no back. Like the show line dogs are often the most fucked up. Like because humans randomly decide these traits are desirable even if they're undesirable, and then they breed them like the show line Chihuahua with an apple head. It's just dwarfism. It hurts the dog. No one's overseeing these things. Like you have a small minority who cares about the breed and they want to reduce any traits that harm the dog, and then you have the reality like we like this apple head even though it gets brain damage from a hole in its head its whole life. And we're making it so small as a puppy it constantly has hypoglycemia and can get brain damage, and it's just there like this like its whole life. Or the show line German Shepherd, it's like back is sloping, it has no legs, it looks like this, like completely different from a working line where it's like this does not help it work. This is useless for a shepherd, right? And the American Husky, where it's just, oh, aren't you pretty with your blue eyes? You're so gorgeous. You look like a little you look like a little wolf. And then you look at the real working Huskies. They're rough around the edges. They don't have that sleek, perfect Spitz body. They're all shaggy and sloppy looking. That little beautiful Husky dying in Florida heat and New Jersey summers. No relevance to what the husky was bred for. Just they want a dog that looks like a tiny little wolf. Spitzes can look like wolves. I see this. My brother got a Carolean bear dog. I don't know where this dog came from or who bred it, but he looks like if you look at working Carolean bear dogs, he's way more refined looking than them. It looks like to me what it looks like these people did was maybe breed some husky into it because he looks a little bit like a husky. He's definitely a purely Spitz type. Like he's got the Carolean tight curled tail, the face. He's a complete. I have no doubt this is a purebred Spitz type. But what I'm trying to say is, I think in America or wherever this dog is from, you're probably putting huskies in the mix. The curated aesthetic model husky too, because again, you see the same thing with the Carolean bear dog. The real working ones are rough around the edges and big, and this dog is a little bit smaller than you'd expect for a male Carolean bear dog. I should mention the Carolean bear dog and the husky are both two Arctic Spitzes. They're Spitz type Spitz, meaning they have a very fluffy, thick coats, pointed overall appearance, pointed muzzle, pointed ears, a curled, fluffy tail, a large rib cage, a tapered, small waist, like a Pomeranian body, a husky body, Spitz types, right? Arctic Spitzes, northern Spitzes, right? So the Caroline is a type like the Husky is. And you look at the working Caroleans and the working Husky, they're all like rough around the edges. They don't look so aesthetic. They don't look so more like Malamutes. The Alaskan Malamute's another Spitz type related to the Husky. You look at the Malamute, and then you look at the working line Huskies, they look a lot more similar. But you look at a Malamute versus an American Husky, or my brother's Carolean bear dog, and they look very different because the Malamute still has that wild coat that's not super fine looking, like nice mane, clearly visible sharp muzzle. You know, it's like anything, like human beings. You have bodybuilders and you have strongmen. Bodybuilders look big and they're cut, but they're not strong. And then you look at the strongmen, people who live for actual strength, they're all fat and not aesthetic. Same thing with our dogs, right? So you have the husky. This dog pulls sleds, and then you actually look at the real working ones who are good at that. This wild hair that's not aesthetic. You can't see their points so well, even though they are a Spitz type so pointed. They just look like sloppy, rough around the edges, but they're good at pulling sleds and they're strong. Same with the Carolean bear dog. The working ones are way more rougher looking than my brother's, who he got somewhere in New York. Probably from a puppy mill that abused him. Because he's scared of hands for some reason. Yeah, there are dog racists. Isn't that weird? What's wrong with humans? This is religious brain. Like, I'm gonna use you as a symbol and live my life that way. So you got the pity mamas using dogs as a symbol of human racism, where it's like, there's no similarity to breeds and human ethnicity, but they're making it true and they're making their life mission to disprove pit bulls have zero pit bull instinct. And it's like, motherfucker, anyone who's been around a pit bull terrier for 5 minutes knows that motherfucker gonna chase you. If you find a pit bull terrier with no chase instinct, you hit the lottery. And then the worst is like as you get more of the pit bull instinct in the line, they want to kill animals. And now you got yourself a problem. You got to lock the dog in a yard and you can't take him on walks. You need Safer Maylon to help your ass. And then you have the other side of crazy people where they're like, yes, dogs are a symbol of human races. And I like that because I'm a racist. I have a show line West German Shepherd that's defective and it's a pure blood snow dog. And I won't let a dirty pit bull touch me because they're mud people. It's like, let me tell you, man, this ape was a mistake. It's just this symbol animal that can do the craziest shit based on the hallucinations in its mind.